What should we chant? All right. Oh. All right, this is nice. Let's see if we can do this one. All right. Where's that Jaiva Dharma? Whoop. All right, let's just go. Get the guitar out and we will go. Govinda! Okay. Asomati nandana prajabarana Kularanjana kalana Yasomati nandana prajajana Gokularanjana Kaliyada manabinana Mupimaranadana Dana manohara Yatamana minana Namani harinam Amiyavilasya Vipina purandana nabina karabara Amala Harinam Amiyavilasa Vipina purandana nabina karabara Ram Shivadana Subhasa Ram Shivadana Subhasa Yasomatinandana Rajabarana Kura Gokularanjana Kana Gopi Paranajana Matana Manohara Yatamanami Hangana Rajajana Balana Surakurana Shana Kakudana Kakoyala Rajajana Sukulana Shana Mandadodana Kakoyala Govinda Navadikta Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Govinda Navadikta Taskara Sundarananda Kubala Yasamatinandana Brajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Puranjana Madana Manohara Kalyana Mahana Pirana Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Sanahara Lasana Sika Kripa Maya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Sanahara Lasana Sika Kripa Maya Shirada Ballava Vrindavana Natapara Vakati Vehinara Shaya Shirada Ballava Vrindavana Natapara Vakati Vehinara Shaya Somatina Nana Braja Paranakara Gokularan Janakana Upi Paranjana Madana Manuara Galea Dumana Vidana Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parividikacharya Hopstoteta Statashi Shima His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Simati Bhakti Vedanta Samaniti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharini Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desert Tarane Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, gang. So we're going to go on to the Jaiva Dharma. Actually, first we're going to read the translation. This song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Lord Krishna is the beloved son of Yashoda, transcendental lover in the land of Braja. The delight of Gokula known as, or by the nickname Kana. The wealth of the lives of the gopis, the attractor of Cupid, and the punisher of the serpent Kaliya. These pure, holy names of Lord Hari are full of sweet, nectarian pastimes. Lord of the 12 forests of Braja, ever youthful, the best of lovers, player of the flute, an excellent dancer. Protector of the inhabitants of Braj, destroyer of demoniac dynasties. keeper and tender of Nanda's cows, giver of pleasure to cows, land, and spiritual senses, husband of the goddess of fortune, butter thief, and beautiful little coward boy of Nanda Maharaj, wanderer of the Jamuna's river banks. Wow. Thief of the garments of the gopis and joy of the mellows of the rasa dance, very merciful, lover and beloved of Shri Radha, the great dancer of Vrindavan, and the only shelter of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, ki jai. Radha Golokananda, ki jai. So, with that in mind, we're going to go to, what are we going to go to? The Jaiva Dharma by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. And now we're going to share the Jaiva Dharma. Okay, share screen. Here we go. All right, let's just get this set up so we get the maximum view of the screen for all of you. And you can read along with us. All right. Yesterday we talked about, okay. Okay, we talked about anubhavas. Anubhava, okay. It's a little review here. Okay. First of all, we're talking about the different bhavas or categories of bhavas. The first category is vibhava. Vibhava, that means, bhava means emotion actually. The vibhava means that which stimulates all the other emotions. And there's two categories under vibhava, the stimulation. Is directly Krishna and things related with Krishna. Directly Krishna means, obviously, if you see Krishna dancing, that stimulates you. And if you don't get stimulated, you're a jerk. And a rascal. And other things that are related to Krishna, like peacock feather or remembering his qualities, etc., etc., etc. That's the vibhava. And then we talk about the anubhava, which is also called ubhasvara. And that is voluntary expressions of ecstasy, such as rolling on the ground, shouting, stretching the body, yawning, sighing, and disregarding everyone. Got a lot of devotees who do that during Bhagavatam class. Drooling, loudly laughing, whirling about, and hiccuping. Hiccuping, the bhava of the heart is revealed. So, Rajanath asks, how can these external transformations nourish the taste of rasa within sthaya bhava? When the taste of rasa is internal, the anubhavas manifest externally in the body. How are they separate ingredients? It's a really important point. So how can bhavas nourish love? Okay. Sthaya bhava, okay, that's another bhava. It means your constitutional bhava. Like my sthaya, not mine, but let's say your sthaya bhava might be related with the servitude relationship, the friendship relationship, parental relationship, or conjugal relationship. In other words, that's what I mean by sthaya bhava. That is connected with your eternal ras. Okay, when the taste of rasa. So anyway, so what's the questions raised here is why or how can external expressions of love nourish the taste of love? Well, even in the material world it can. Let's say you love someone, of course. Okay, let's say you love your kid. I'm not going to talk about romantic love. It ain't the proper subject matter for sannyasis. So let's say you love your kid or child or son or daughter, and you can externally manifest it. How do you externally manifest it? You give a present to your kid. You tell the kid you love the kid. The kid gets hurt and you try to help him. You know, this is so external. Things can definitely manifest the internal. And so dancing for Krishna awakens the internal. Not only does it awaken the eternal and internal, eternal and internal. Not only does it awaken those things, but it actually helps free you from all karma. In the Vedic literatures, Nectar Devotion describes when you dance the contamination, the birds of karma, whatever, the cockroaches of karma, fly far away. When you dance and chant, you clap your hands. Prabhupada said, when you clap your hands, what happens when you clap your hands? Then, what happens? All the lines on your hand change. Is that good or is that bad? They change for the good. For example, your original hand, left hand for men, right hand for women, is one thing. And what you make out of it, what you've done in Krishna consciousness is manifest in the right hand for men or left hand for women. And I'm looking at my hand right now and I see Krishna playing a flute, his lotus feet. Not really, I wish. So anyway, so this is the question: how can external activities that you voluntarily manifest, how can they nourish your taste of love? Basically, that's what's being stated. Goswami says, you have thoroughly studied the scriptures of Nyaya. Nyaya means like logic and reason. I have not seen anyone until now ask such a subtle question as you have. When I studied this topic of Ras with the learned Pandit Goswami, that's Prakeshwara Pandit. Prakeshwara Pandit was Lord Chaitanya's associate. Oh my God. Let me just see, I was expecting something. Sorry for that interruption. That was not kosher. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. Let me check the volume. I think it's kind of low. And there was something I had to get, a phone call that I had to get. So, okay. When I studied this topic of Ras with the learned Pandit Goswami Prakeshwara Pandit, I also had this doubt in my mind. By my Guru's mercy, that doubt was resolved. The deep conclusion is this. The jiva's Shuddha Sattva state has many functions of the heart, consciousness. When consciousness is stimulated by the vibhava, Krishna, that means the stimulation emotion, which assists its functions, a natural astonishment arises. This astonishment makes the heart blossom in various ways. When the heart blossoms with joy, resulting transformations manifest in the body. These are called ubhashvaras. Ubhashvara means basically the same thing as anubhava. It's the same thing. These transformations or fruits are many types. So what they're saying here, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here, is that it's not an artificial dancing. It's not that you just dance and you don't feel anything, but it has to come from the heart. This is actually a really important point, that whatever you do externally with the body has to be done from the heart. Does that make sense? Yes, it makes sense. Otherwise, it's something we call niyam agraha. You're just being very ritualistic. Let's say I just dance because I'm supposed to dance. Of course, that's better than nothing. But if you dance because you really want to please Krishna, and that's from the heart, even if your heart is not completely ecstatic, but at least your desire, which manifests from the heart, is the desire to please Krishna. That's a really important point. Okay, I thought that was really important. When the heart dances, the body dances. In other words, when the heart sings, the tongue sings. So it's really a manifestation of the internal. Not a manifestation as I just want to enjoy jiving, dancing, but a manifestation of some desire connected with the pleasure of Krishna coming from within. Because someone could dance just trying to enjoy the bodily motions. Like people dance all sorts of things. It's not only the devotees dance. People who are not yet Krishna conscious, it's deliberate, they also dance. They go to the dance hall because they're enjoying the movement of the body, the endorphins. I'm not going to tell you what endorphins are. That's not the name of your girlfriend. Anyway, endorphins are something in the body. So you're enjoying the endorphins, but that's not really what spiritual dancing is. Spiritual dancing is you just feel like I'm doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. That's why sometimes Prabhupada would correct the devotees when they were dancing wildly for their own pleasure. And sometimes Prabhupada would not correct them because, Prabhupada simply wanted to encourage them, engage them somehow or other in Christian service. But the real motivation, the purpose, the idea behind the dancing is to give Krishna pleasure. We're dancing for the pleasure of Krishna. This is like one of the Deva Dasis. I don't know if you've heard of a Deva Dasi. Deva Dasi were the traditional temple dancers. And they would dance for Krishna's pleasure. And nobody would watch them traditionally, except for their dance teacher. It was done in private. Not that a bunch of men would be looking at them. Oh, isn't that a cute little Deva Dasi? It was done really privately. And that was the system. And they were dancing for the pleasure of Krishna. So when we're dancing for the deities, it's not just like grunting and doing all sorts of wild antics. The whole idea is to please Krishna. You should be thinking like that. Or it's a manifestation of you're so happy, a manifestation of spiritual happiness. But not to enjoy the physical interactions simply. The Ubhasvara actions are not the original actions. In other words, the Anubhavas are not the original. The original actions are in the heart, in the subtle form. This is what's going to be expressed right here. The Anubhavas which arise to nourish the emotions in the heart spread in the body as Ubhasvaras. So as soon as the Sthai that is one's steady emotional state in relationship with one's ras, in the heart is inspired by the Vibhava, the stimulation, Krishna or his qualities, the heart's second function becomes active as Anubhava. You understand? Thus, Anubhava is a separate ingredient. Does that make sense? Separate ingredient, but is connected to the heart's stimulation. Not that you just alike to sing and dance, but you want to do it for Krishna's pleasure. You should always be thinking of Krishna's pleasure. That's a pure devotee's consciousness. So at least if your mind is not thinking like that, bring it back. When singing, yawning, etc. Well, I mentioned the word yawning. I started to yawn, but not for Krishna's pleasure. When singing, yawning, etc. manifest, it is called shita. And when dancing, etc. manifest, it is called shepana. Something more active. That's what's discussed in the footnote here. Shepana are more active than shita, anubhavas. Shita means like something that's like relatively sedate, and shepana is like getting a little wild there. Other symptoms such as extreme goosebumps, not goop, goosebumps. Goosebumps are like when you get bumps all over your skin, like when you take a cold shower. I recommend cold showers. They're really good for you. Sweating blood, oh my God. Separation of bones from the joints that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited that, and contraction of the joints, like Lord Chaitanya looked like a tortoise sometime, are not described here since they are very rare. The extraordinary anubhava seen in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such others, what he's mentioning, such as forms of the tortoise, are not seen in devotees. They're symptoms of mahabhav. Okay? Mahabhav means the great emotions, which we don't manifest. We could have mini bhav. Anubhavs. This was anu. Hey, that's right. And then, okay, hearing the deep teachings of Guru Goswami, the two remained silent for some time. After taking the dust from his feet, they asked, Prabhu, what are these sattvika transformations? That's the second type, or the third type of bhavas. There was vibhava, anubhava, and now sattvika. When the heart is overcome by bhavas, emotions, related to Krishna either directly or indirectly, it is called sattva, goodness. The bhava that arises, the emotion that arises from sattva, goodness, is called the sattvika bhava, the goodness emotion. There are three types, snigdha, digdha, and ruksha. And Brajanath said, what is snigdha? Sattvika bhava. So he's going to talk about the three different types. There are two types. This is a little technical, but at least you can appreciate. You don't have to remember. There are two types of snigdha, primary and secondary. When a chief rati, love, directly related to Krishna, overcomes the heart, it is a primary snigdha sattvika bhava. Being stunned, perspiration, for example, are counted in this category. When a rati, love of Krishna, is related to Krishna somewhat indirectly, affects the heart, it is called the secondary snigdha sattvika bhava. Changing color and choking of the voice may be secondary snigdha sattvika bhavas. So, okay, the primary one would be when you directly remember Krishna, and a secondary one would be when you remember one of Krishna's devotees. or you remember some service you did. When the bhavas are emotions which are not primary or secondary ratis, which are not primary or secondary love, which is mentioned before, sthai bhavas, overcome the heart, a digda sattvika bhava manifests. Trembling is a digda sattvika bhava. They're different emotions. The bliss that arises in a person devoid of love, but who may resemble the devotee by hearing about Krishna's astonishing sweetness, is called ruksha. Hair standing on end, for instance, may be a ruksha sattvika bhava. So in other words, even someone who is not a devotee can experience this by association with a great devotee and hearing about Krishna's sweetness or hearing a kirtan. And then Brajanath said, how do these sattvika bhavas arise? And here are the 8 sattvika bhavas. Goswami said, being stunned, just like, not being able to move. Perspiring, I can't imitate that. Hair standing on end. Choking of the voice. Trembling. Change of colors, I can't do that one. Tears, I can't do that one. And fainting are the 8 sattvika bhavas. So these are the 8, they're called ashta sattvika bhavas, which means 8 sattvika. That means sattvika again is the goodness emotions. The prana in some situations, prana means your life air. Like there's different types of life airs in the body that cause the body to function and do certain things. When in the prana in some situations takes shelter of the 4 elements, that's earth, water, fire, air. Of course not ether. And sometimes with itself, air, and moves throughout the body of the jiva. When the prana is situated in the earth element, it is ether, yeah. It's 4 elements and 5, including itself, air. Okay, got it. When the prana is situated in the earth element, one becomes stunned. Earth, it's earthy. When the prana, the life air, is situated in the water element, tears arise. When prana is situated in the fire element, change of complexion and perspiration take place. When it's situated in ether, that means space, fainting occurs. When it takes shelter of air, standing hairs, slight trembling, medium, and choking of the voice, intense will occur. Since the 8 transformations create external and internal disturbances, they may be called anubhavas external or vyabhachari bhavas internal. So in other words, there's some overlapping. This is interesting. Since the anubhavas create external disturbance only, they are not called sattvika bhavas. Oh, I see. I understand. I understand this now. Wow. So since the anubhavas are only external, but they have to be connected with the heart, as we said before, but they're external, they are not, and they're voluntary, they are not called sattvika bhavas. So, in other words, the manifestations of sattvika, of a sattvika bhava, the manifestations may also be an anubhava, but there's more going on in the sattvika bhavas than meets the anubhava's eyes. For instance, in dancing, etc., a bhava arising from sattva does not function. The act is inspired by intelligence. Okay. Being stunned, etc., does not depend on intelligence. Okay. So in other words, the anubhavas that may be part of the symptoms of a sattvika bhava, trying to explain this to everyone, are connected, are, let's say, inspired in a way that's coming from within, not just, and they are uncontrollable, okay. But still, because they're external manifestations, they're called anubhavas. The sattvika bhava directly acts. For this reason, anubhavas and sattvika bhavas can be separated. This is interesting. They can be separated, but some of the symptoms, the external symptoms of some of the sattvika bhavas, are actually counted as anubhavas according to this before. Yeah. Anubhava means external, something is controlled, yeah. The symptoms, the external symptoms, may appear as anubhavas, although they're not the same as anubhavas because they're inspired not only by love, but they're inspired from within and they're part of the nature of someone. Got it. Prajna said, I desire to know the cause of stamba, being stunned, and other sattvika bhavas. That means bhavas that are in goodness, or the goodness emotions. Goswami said, being stunned is immovability. That means you can't move. Without speaking, arising from joy, fear, astonishment, lamentation, and indignation. Perspiration, dampness of the body, arises from joy, fear, or anger. Of course, in the material world, perspiration can arise from what? Heat. Standing on hairs on end arises from astonishment, joy, enthusiasm, and fear. And these things also apply materially to different stimulants we have in this world. If you become fearful of something, you do have certain things that occur in your body, like standing of hairs on end. The voice becomes choked by lamentation, astonishment, anger, joy, and fear. Trembling arises from fear. Yeah, I remember when the police stopped me for a ticket, for a traffic ticket. I was going too fast. I was trembling. So even in the material world, it works like that. So you can understand. Trembling arises from fear, anger, and joy. And when the lawyer got me off, I started trembling in ecstasy too. Change of color arises from lamentation, anger, and fear. Tears arise from joy, anger, and lamentation. The tears are cool from joy and hot from anger. Fainting, falling on the ground without consciousness or action, arises from joy and sorrow. Like I said, you don't have to remember these things because when you go back to the spiritual world, you're not going to have to categorize them. But it's something so you can see the nature of the analysis, the detailed analysis of these bhavas and every aspect of Krishna consciousness. I mean, there's no other spiritual practice that has such detailed definitions of things. According to the sattva, the goodness, the sattvika bhav, the goodness emotions, may be of four types, progressively stronger. This is just degrees of strength. Adhyuma yita, dvalita, deepta, or udipta. The ruksha sattvika bhavas are generally, that's the first type that we mentioned above. Dhyuma yita, this is not so strong. The snigdha sattvika bhavas attain all the progressively higher states. Rati is the cause of astonishing types of bliss. Love is the cause of all astonishing types of bliss. States without love, rati, are like ruksha, are not astonishing, just like, very dim. Brajana said, Prabhu, all the sattvika bhavas arise by good fortune. The emotions, the good emotions. But in drama and the affairs of others in the material world, many people show these bhavas. That's what I just mentioned. When I've shown these bhavas, getting a traffic ticket. What is this? The Sattvika, and Goswami replies, the Sattvika bhavas, that means the godly goodness emotions, that arise gradually by sadhana, practice, from sincere, pure bhakti, are Vaishnava bhavas, Vaishnava emotions. All bhavas seen in others may be classed into four types: Ratya bhasa, Sattva bhasa, Nikshatva, and Pratipa. Who are not devotees, basically. Those aspiring for liberation have Ratya bhasa. The bhava manifested by Shankara sannyasis is Ratya bhasa. It's a reflection of love, but it's not love. Rajana said, then what is sattva bhasa? When an abhasa, bliss and astonishment arise in the heart, which is naturally soft on hearing topics of Krishna, it is sattva bhasa. So in other words, people are not devotees, but they have soft hearts. Soft hearts means they can be a little sentimental. So when material mimamsakas means people just believe in karma and not in anything superior. When material mimamsakas and women hear about Krishna, they develop such symptoms. That's why ladies end up at religious ceremonies more often than men. I mean, haven't we all been at marriages where the ladies are crying? They're crying at the marriage because they're very soft-hearted. They're just like emotional, romantic. I'm not going to use the word sentimental. Don't want to offend anyone here. So emotional, romantic. What else? I'm not going to use the word blubbering either. So anyway, and the men, because they're not so soft-hearted, are sitting in the back just talking business or playing with their mobile phones. Usually you don't see a lady playing with a mobile phone during a marriage, but you see the men doing it nowadays. And the ladies can sit for hours and hours and hours in a marriage. And some of these marriages, I'm praying to Krishna. Why am I praying to Krishna? For the benefit of the married couple? Probably that too. But mainly, please let it be over, let it be over, let it be over, Krishna. Let this be the final mantra. My dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please end this so I can get on to my real life. Yeah, you can tell I don't really have a taste for marriages. Brajananda said, here's another type. What is Nisattva bhas? When an abhas occurs in a person with a naturally deceptive heart, or in an actor, or to achieve some other goals with hairstyling and one, etc., it is called Nisattva. Those who have hard hearts but hide it and cry as if it were natural have deceptive hearts. They are actually materialistic. What is Pratipa? When bhavabhasa arises from anger and fear and enemies with actions unfavorable to Krishna, it is called Pratipa bhavabhasa. Because that was the type of bhavabhasa I had when I was getting a ticket. So I was actually experiencing bhava. Ecstatic, but bhavabhasa. Prashanath said, Prabhu, I have understood Vibhava, Anubhava, and Sattvika bhava. So he's understood the stimulation for emotion, the expression of your emotion when you become stimulated, and the Sattvika bhava, the eightfold emotions, expressions that have internal and external manifestations. I have understood the difference between Anubhava and Sattvika bhava. Now describe Vyabhachari bhavas. Wow. Wow. Wowie. These are the most ecstatic, of course. Goswami said there are 33 Vyabhachari bhavas. They are called Vyabhachari bhavas since they move, charanti, against the sthai bhava, one's constant emotions, while assisting in a distinctive way. Vishesha abhimukena. That means that there's differences that are distinctive anyway. So, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, they're also called sanchari bhavas. Sanchari or vyabhachari means they move against the Sai Bhava, which means they move throughout the body. These vyabhachari bhavas reveal themselves by words, by limbs, such as eyebrows and other bodily parts, and external actions, anubhavas. So anubhava means an external action, which arise from overwhelming emotions, sattva. Since they set an emotion, sancharayanti, this course of the Staibhava, they are called sanchari bhavas, which is what I said before. They rise like waves in the sweet ocean of the Staibhava, increase the ocean, and then merge into it. It's amazing. They arise like waves in the sweet ocean of the constant emotion that one has, increase the ocean, and then merge into it. In other words, they're just like a gigantic wave that just like wipes you out. Where's that set? That's a surfing expression. A tsunami. They're like a tsunami. Okay, that's a good expression. Vibhava, sanchari bhava. No, vyabhachari bhava and sanchari bhava, same thing, are like tsunamis. Tsunami means like these gigantic waves that are like 30, 50, 100 feet tall, and they just pull you out to the ocean. And you have no control. You can't swim against this tsunami. Phew. Okay, we're going to read them real quickly. The Vyabhachari bhavas are as follows: self-disgust, nirveda, remorse, vishada, thinking oneself unqualified, jnanam or yinata, debility, jnani. Oh, that's interesting. Malani, fatigue, shrama, rapture, mada, pride, garva, apprehension, shankha, sudden fear, trasa, confusion of the mind, avega, insanity, unmada, epilepsy, apasmriti, sickness, vyadi, loss of internal awareness, moha, death-like symptoms, mriti, sloth, alashang, indecision, jadyam, shame, vrida, concealment of emotions, avahita, remembrance, smriti, conjecture, vitarka, pondering, chinta, finding meaning through scriptural reference, mati, steadiness, driti, joy, harsha, impatience, ot sukyam, oh my God, ferocity, ogrya, indignation, amarsha, fault finding. Now, don't think that that's an anubhav or a vyabhachari bhava for you. Asuya, insolence, chapal yata, sleep. Okay, nidra, dreaming, supti, and enlightenment, bodha. Ooh. I think we should end here because this gets complicated. I'm sure some of you will have questions. Just wait until you experience these things. You'll be a different person once you experience these things. So, let's allow you to unmute yourselves after this ecstatic explanation of emotions. Of course, this material world, it's just a little discussion here before you ask a question. This material world is a world of emotions, but it's called the bhava rogue. It means sick emotions. Sick. Bhava rogue. Like rogue, or rogi is a sick person, and bhava is an emotion that's related in the material world. Bhava rogue is related with the body and things connected with the body and the mind, and it's basically self-centered. Woe is me, I am so depressed. That's bhava rogue. or even I really what enjoy football. That's Baba Rogue. Enjoy computers. That's Baba Rogue. Or I enjoy artificial intelligence. That's Baba Rogue. Okay, so much for that discussion. So, anybody have any questions or comments they would like to ask about Bhavas today? You can raise your hand, type in the text window. We have a Chitraleka from Colombia has a question. You can unmute
Hello,
yourself. Yeah.
Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Buenos dias, señorita.
Buenos dias. I was wondering, thank you for the class. I'm really happy to be back. And regarding the Babas, I was wondering, like, if we experience happiness dancing for the deities, for example, how do we know if that happiness is actually coming from, if that happiness is because we're doing it for our own pleasure or for Krishna's pleasure?
Now that's happiness is spiritual. If we feel happiness by seeing the deities, that happiness is spiritual.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
So the thing
that's so I
is,
wouldn't worry about it. But I'm talking about what I talked about was doing artificial like dancing or something like that, just because wait you're trying to fit in, or just because. I mean, I'll give you a practical example of that. When ISKCON used to have its gurukulas, uh, then they used to force the kids to dance for the deities, and thinking that that is spiritual. It's not. The kids were dancing because of fear, because they wanted a sweet bowl after Mangalarti. But if you're dancing because you feel happiness, that's an anubhava.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So if we're experiencing happiness, is
Yeah, if you're
not
experiencing happiness, spiritual happiness from Krishna's presence, that's definitely spiritual. But if you're
okay.
just ignoring Krishna and you're just there because basically you want to, instead of going to the dance hall that night and dancing the what is it? What dance do they do in Colombia? You know, the cha cha or something.
Cumbia.
What dance?
It's cumbia, what they dance
Kumbaya,
here.
kumbaya, kumbaya. Yeah,
Yeah.
because of,
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Gurudev.
okay. Thank you. So Gopal just sent me a message. He says he wants to dance a dance called the Hora for Krishna. That's because of his ethnic background. Not a good idea. I mean, you could if Krishna is pleased by seeing the Hora. That's all right. I mean, you can do an ethnic dance for the deities, but it has to be based upon giving the deities pleasure or feeling happiness that you're in front of the deities. That's Gopal's ethnic dance. He's very attached to the ethnic dance. Or there's a dance that the cowboys used to do in America. They would point their guns at each other's feet and shoot bullets and say, "Dance, partner." People would be dancing. So, by Chaitanya, you have a question. You can
Hare
unmute
Krishna
yourself.
Gurudev, please accept my respectful obeisances. Do you
My
allow to speak?
blessing.
Gurudev, it's very deep subject, and I'm getting a lot confused. But one of the things, just if when you were explaining the different types of sattvika bhavas, so I think there
Yeah.
was snigdha and digdha and ruksha.
Ruksha.
Is it
Ruksha.
ruksha?
Yeah.
Rushka. So one, it was I and did I understand correctly that in Rushka you don't you like that it might not be actually a devotee but experience some bhava like
Yeah.
um
Yeah. You can experience it, and that's like a bhava bas. You know, it's remember we talked about abasa, that
yeah
there's pratibimba and chaya.
yeah
So that's like a shadow of a bhava, which actually amounts to an emotion, so that could be ruksha under the
Okay, but
category.
even it's in the sattvic category of goodness.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still
because you're connected with the Shuddha Sattva, which you're talking about the pure goodness.
yeah.
When one comes in contact with a pure devotee, or hears an ecstatic kirtan, or hears an ecstatic Bhagavatam class, one is contacting the Shuddha Sattva, even if one's a demon.
Yeah, yeah,
So that can be considered in that point. So the
okay,
Bhavas, I mean, of course, it's not really connected with one at that point with one sthai Baba because one hasn't recognized one steady Baba, which is going to
yeah,
be talked about next. Okay?
yeah. Makes sense, Gurudev. So it's actually you can actually experience that through the connection of a pure devotee,
Yeah, pure
or
devotee, or a
semi devotee.
Bhagavatam class, or the
Yeah,
holy name, a kirtan, or
yeah,
something like. I
yeah.
mean, I've seen people who have come to a Hare Krishna festival, like a Rath Yatra or something, and they start experiencing ecstasy, and
Mm,
basically they may be people who've been eating meat, or people who have not following very many of
yeah,
the principles, but still they feel that happiness just by coming into the atmosphere of a devotee festival. It's one of the
yeah.
reasons why we have Rath Yatras, to expose people to that happiness. Then they remember that happiness, and eventually they may want to become devotees. Because we have something, I was talking to someone the other day about this, that one may say, oh, ISKCON has so much competition. Because wherever we establish our temples, there are so many Hindu temples, right? So many Hindu temples and
Mm,
everything like that. And some of those temples have Radha Krishna deities. And of course, most of them have every deity under the sun. Anyway, so there may be other temples, and they may also chant and stuff like that. And our temple may be the smallest temple. I mean, practically in almost any area we go into, but some places our temples are the biggest, like in India.
mm,
But if you go almost in any area, like in Sydney, where you're from, I mean, some of the Hindu temples are humongous. I mean,
mm,
big, big, and many. And so, what do we have? What differentiates us is that we can expose people to this happiness, higher taste, or these bhavas that they experience just by being with us. And that's what attracts people. Even though we may not have the most facility, we may not have the most money, we may not, so many things. We
mm.
may not have so many things, so many, the most rituals. I mean, just like here in North Carolina, there's so many Hindu temples. I mean, just like filled.
Mm.
There's a Swami Narayan temple. There's, everything under the sun we have within a half an hour of the temple, for our temple here.
Mm.
And our temple is probably one of the smallest, whatever. But come Janmashtami, they all come to us. Not all, but most of
Yeah,
the people come to us
yeah,
because we're offering something, and they have Janmashtami too. It's not we're the only ones with the Janmashtami. Everybody in India, except for the Muslims, celebrates Janmashtami, and sometimes even they do too. But come Janmashtami, we're the pick of the group,
mm,
pick of the pod or whatever it's called,
yeah. Makes
and
sense.
that's because we offer this bhava. They experience it. They experience emotions. And
Okay.
you see people on Janmashtami doing service and everything like that are not part of our movement, but they're just like feeling so happy just to be here. And what are we offering? I mean, externally, maybe not so much compared to what the other centers may be offering. A smaller facility and like
Mm,
that, and the management is a little bit splayed out.
mm.
People often say, they often come to me and say, I don't want to join any organized religion. I said, don't worry. You come to the right place because we're not organized at all. We're, we're engaged in spontaneous devotional service and spontaneous management too. If you ever, if anyone's ever attended a GBC meeting, you would know what spontaneous management is like. It's really spontaneous. Okay, I
Thank you,
think
Guru.
that's it. We have to end now. Thank you for your questions, and we'll see everybody tomorrow evening. All glories to His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada.